Okay, so now that we have our boundary edges, what we need to do before we can add in our site improvements is to actually create our materials for our paving. So on the paving plan, there's some information here that tells us the different types of materials we have and for each pavement section. So I've got my dumpster, my asphalt, concrete. And if we look down here, we can also see that we've got some existing section and some values. So it looks like I got 8 inches of compacted backfill that we have to deal with. And these numbers equate to these notes down here. So one, you can see your topsoil layer is that we have to remove the surface vegetation at least 6 inches. And we have to go at least 5 feet beyond construction limits from the site. So, even going outside the limits of our site to remove the topsoil. So we'll take that into account when we define our topsoil. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and just take a look, put this guy over here somewhere so we can see it. And I'm going to go to the MSI manager. And in the MSI manager, we're going to come in and define our materials as well as our site improvements. So the first thing we'll do is under materials, we already defined the concrete, which is this 3,500 PSI concrete. If we look, it doesn't look like it tells us what type of concrete. So we'll use that one, so we don't have to define the concrete. That one's good. But let's go ahead and define the asphalt. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a new category, and we'll call it asphalt. Again, this is up to you on how you want to organize your information. So I'm going to do a new asphalt material, and this new one's going to be the 9.5 course, and we'll call it, asphalt. And we want to know the volume, cubic yard. Again, if we were measuring it or ordering it by a supplemental unit, maybe by ton, we could do it here, and we could put it at procurement cost, what it costs. I'm going to go ahead and just make this a dark gray color or a gray color. We could put a texture in here. We won't do that now, but I'll just leave it the way it is. Then I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to do another new one. This will be the 12.5 millimeter asphalt, same thing. Okay. And then, we could do another material category called aggregate. Called aggregate. So let's make sure we spell it right. All right. So our aggregate, enter. We'll do a new one there, and that one's going to be, call it GAB course. Maybe this is number 5, right? Number 5 stone, whatever it happens to be, right? So whatever we want to call the aggregate. Just leave it at that. Same thing. Again, maybe we measure it by tonnage, and what its cost is. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna make that one light gray. And let's see what else here. So I'm gonna close this just so I can pan up, make sure I got all my materials. And we'll do our topsoil. All right. So I'm gonna come back into here. Under materials, now the topsoil we're going to do under the earthen section. So the earthen section here is our native earthen materials. And we can set a density variation property for this material and then choose our percentage. So our onsite, if, shrinkage, haulage, bulkage, hauling, bulkage, compaction. If you want to know more about this, if you hit F1, it will actually bring up the help, and it will talk about these earthen materials. So it talks about, you know, your density and your basically your compaction rates. Okay, so a hauling bulkage of 25%, multiplication factor of basically 1.25. So it shows us, you know, how to enter the values in accordingly. Okay, so I'm gonna right click on this. I'm gonna create a new material, and we're gonna call it onsite topsoil. And for this, you'll see that we can actually define that type of material. So this happens to be topsoil, so we're going to identify it as topsoil. In our topsoil properties, we're going to tell it that it's usable or unusable. So I'm going to say it's usable for replacement. I can have a shrinkage and a bulkage of value, right? So if I say, you know, maybe it's a negative 1% or 10%, right? I can put that value in there. Okay. Offsite borrow course, so if you have to bring material in, you can put a cost on that as well. And we'll go ahead and make that the brown color. All right, so that's our on-site topsoil. We can also define an off-site. So if we don't have enough for fill, we can actually define an on-site. So after the topsoil, we can define an on-site fill, and we can just call that ordinary soils, and 100% is usable for fill. And again, we can put in our, you know, based on our soils report, we could put in our shrinkage and bulkage. And then I can also do another one, which would be my offsite. So if I have to bring in material, I could put that in ordinary soils, you know, versus rock. So if we did have rock on the site, we could define that as well. So I can just rename this to offsite soils. Or, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so those are the materials we have for our paving sections. We have our concrete, our gravel, and our asphalt, basically. Now we need to define our site improvements. So here I've got one already set up for paving and curbing, so I can define all the paving sections under here. And we'll start by creating a new paving section, and we'll call it heavy duty asphalt. And its type is area. We want to measure by the square yard. We could put in an installation price, so how much is it going to cost us for the paving. We could do that if we wanted to. How we want to quantify it, and then you know, how the subgrade adjustment is handled, either by a vertical offset or perpendicular offset. Now it's down here where we actually define our materials and our thicknesses. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting in the first material, which for my asphalt pavement, I'm going to have a material of the 0.9 or 9.5 millimeter, and that's going to be it was a 2-inch thickness. Let me close this to pan this down. Go back into my material improvement manager. Let's go back to that one here. And we're going to have a thickness here of 2 inches. Okay. Then I've got my 12 inches of asphalt, or my 12.5, which is another 2-inch layer. And then I'm going to have my 8 inches of my aggregate stone. Okay. So I have 8 inches of that. And then we're going to have 8 inches of our compacted backfill or native soil, right? So I'm going to come in here and put on-site native soil, and that's going to be 8 inches. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a new pavement section for the dumpster. Same thing as area. If we move this around, I think it's this one over here. Let's just close to be sure. Yep. Back to materials improvement. So again, this is only because I started with a blank template. Once we define these, like I said, we're going to save this as a template. So here, same thing, square yard, that's all good. My material is going to be my concrete, and that's going to be 8 inches. Then my aggregate is going to be 4 inches, and then I'm going to have my backfill. So onsite soil, we have 8 inches of that. Okay, and then I've got my concrete pavement section, same thing. And we're going to define that. So I'm going to have my concrete at 5 inches. I'm going to have my aggregate at 4 inches. And we'll do the same thing, fill here with 8 inches. Oops, didn't mean to close, sorry. Because I forgot, got one more site improvement. Under paving, paving and curbing, maybe we do another one called sidewalk. Because we're going to have that area as well. And on the sidewalk, we're going to have our concrete, which I think is 4 inches, looking at the section here. So on page 25, let's take a look. Now, it looks like I've got 4-inch typical there, and 4 inches of aggregate. All right, so we got 4 inches for that. Our aggregate, 4 inches as well. Okay. Now we also got areas of topsoil and landscaping. So we do have under site improvements, we've got this, new landscaping topsoil improvement. And I can either do, seed with respread. And then same thing, I can come up here and I can say that, my material is going to be, my onsite topsoil, and I want, let's say, what was that actually? I think we had to put in, close this. If I look over here, it varies. Does it tell us? Doesn't really tell us. Oh, it's probably on our landscaping plan. So if we take a look at that, let's take a look at the landscape plan and see what that says. So in those areas attached, we can see here that actually it's, in this note here, we got 4 inches of topsoil. Okay. Also, if we come down here, we can see that they are calling for sod and sodded areas. Okay, so it's not actually seed in topsoil, it's sod. So I'm going to come back up to my MSI manager, and instead of seeding there, I'm going to come in, I'm going to rename it to sod, and we're going to have basically 4 inches of that on-site topsoil. Okay, this is what was required. Oops. So let me delete this. Okay. Topsoil replacement requirements, earthen topsoil. You can control the edge, right? Vertical or sloping. All right, so we'll just do vertical, and we'll do 4 inches because we need 4 inches there. All right, so it's going to use whatever it needs for fill in the improvement, and then account for that also in the replacement requirements. So now that we have all of our materials, we can go ahead and define those and place those into our site, which I will show you in the following video.